Jonathan Southcott is one of those producers who actually likes old actors, you know, and enjoys working with us. So when he said, come over and do a film with Lee Majors and Nick Moran and your old mate Billy Murray and Paul Barber and Patsy Kensit, I went, yes, sure, well, you know, point me in the right direction, I'm there, you know.
After being Mr. Squeaky Clean in, of course, the one that I love me for, which is, of course, Return of the Saint, you do a little bit of swearing in this one. Did that come easy for you?
What, being a villain, you mean?
Or yeah, being... no, you're the soldier. You know what I mean? So you know, soldiers swear. But I mean, you know, you were squeaky clean in the Return of the Saint. So was that difficult for you to sort of like change your character and you know be more full on really as the full rounded here I am?
Right. No. Well, first of all, the Saint, as you know, was a very long time ago. I just like working with Jonathan because he gives me unexpected parts. Although this part in Renegades is not actually outside the possibilities. You know, I could have been that character. What would have been difficult for me was playing the East End gangster, which I did in the other two films. But that's what was so fun about those films, you know. Yeah, I mean, those films were in a way more fun for me than Renegades on a personal level, certainly because I enjoyed trying out something new. The character in Peck, my character's name was Peck in Renegades.
I know.
Major Peck, was not that far removed from me, you know.
Yeah. This is not the first time where a group of mature guys get together to sort it out. Do you remember doing Dragon Wing with David Carradine, Pat McNee, and Robert Vaughan in Kung Fu: The Legend Continues? Martial arts.
Yeah, I do. We went up to Canada, up to Toronto to do that. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I do. And we were all kind of playing the characters we had played on television, you know. Patrick was sort of like John Steed, and I was sort of like the Saint, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. I appreciated the director's sense of humor, and not only that, but his ability to get all of us together, and the fact that none of us was dead yet. That was good, you know.
Did you ever have to learn any martial arts for the Saint or any of these characters? Did you have to?
Well, with the Saint, I had a most wonderful stunt double called Les Crawford, who had doubled for Roger Moore, and he was legendary, Les. And Les said, let's do a kind of very loose, easy form of karate, a very loose limb sort of, not specifically karate or kung fu or anything like that. It'll look good with your frame and the way you handle yourself. So he and I worked on fight scenes together, and I think some of them were successful. I think the problem with the Saint used to be a little bit that a 6'7" heavy weighing 400 pounds would come at me, and I'd go ha ha, and he'd fall over. You know, that was partly because we were discouraged. Violence was discouraged at that time, actively discouraged. Like, for instance, you'll notice that nearly all the episodes, they don't have guns in them. Only one or two of the Italian or French episode had guns in them, and after that, we weren't allowed guns anymore. We were no more guns. That's it. We're not having guns. So all the violence was rather anodyne, I thought, really, a little bit squeaky clean, really, you know.
Yeah. So getting back to Renegades, did you find that some of that martial arts training, it came back to you quite easily? Because you have to do a few fight scenes especially towards the end of Renegades.
Yeah. Well, it was sort of twist aside and punch, really. It wasn't too much. They didn't have me doing a huge amount of fighting in that. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I know how to move. Let's say it's just muscle memory, you know.
And of course, you have been known to fight or be involved with 7 times world karate champions, because you turned up in an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger, with Chuck Norris. Yeah. How did you find that? And what was Chuck like with you?
I think I met Chuck Norris once. My storyline and his storyline were not parallel. So I it was a very long time ago, and I don't remember the character. I don't remember the plot. I don't remember anything about it, other than the fact that there I was doing a Chuck Norris show, and I met Chuck Norris for, I think, in the last scene, probably. Yeah, he seemed a perfectly pleasant man, but my part was not it didn't cross with his at all, really, And quite often that happens, you're playing one of these things with leading men or leading women, and you get asked these questions, and you realize, of course, that you didn't really work with them, hardly at all. Your scenes were separate from theirs, and you were in the same film as them. I mean, I could say I did a film with Orson Welles, only because in Waterloo, the film Waterloo, Orson Welles had one scene as King Louis. Nowhere near any of us were in the. I was in a film that had Orson Welles in it.
You've sort of done really well, and I'm over the moon that you are in these movies, and I hope you'll do some more. But you were in a movie which was called a relaunch of The Saint, and it's been poorly accepted, really. But Roger was in it, and you were in it. Why is that? What happened to that movie?
Well, it was curious. Adam Rayner, who played the Saint, and I thought he was bloody great. I thought he was wonderful. He would have made a wonderful Saint. And the idea was to try and spin it into a series, but it never quite got off the ground, and I have no idea why. And my involvement was extraordinary. You know the actress Nicolette Sheridan? You know who I mean by Nicolette Sheridan? Nicolette's an old friend. And she rang me one day out of the blue, and she said, I've just had a meeting with this producer called Brad about a project, and he happened to mention that he was making a new Saint show, and that she had said to this producer, "Oh my God, you should put Ian Ogilvy in it." And he said, "Is he here?" This was in Los Angeles. Yeah, he lives here. He went, "Oh, okay." The next thing I hear is my agent calls me up and he says, "They want you to play a little cameo in this Saint thing." So I said, "Okay, great, sounds fun." So I go on the set, and I have no idea what I am, who I'm supposed to be, or anything. Nobody explains it to me particularly. In fact, I'm being rather charming. And the director said, "Ian, you do understand you're the villain." I went, "No, I didn't know that." "Okay, so all right. So I played my part, and that was fine. Then a year later, my agent calls me back, and they said, "You know that Saint thing you did?" They said they're reshooting it, and they want your part to be much, much, much bigger. And they want you to go to Romania and shoot in Romania in Nicolae Ceausescu's, the dictator of Romania, whose wife, and he was shot in one of his palaces, in one of his And I went, "Oh, okay, how nice." They think I was okay, so they want the part to be bigger. So that's what I did. I went and reshot my role, and made it a much bigger part. And so that's the story of that. Now, what happened to it after that, of course, I'm not party to, and I'm not party to any of the decisions that happened to it. But yes, I just think it just fizzled out. It just wasn't. Yeah. Also, it's possible that the Saint is now kind of past his sell-by date. The whole character.
No, definitely not. By the way, just for your edification, you are on British television as Return of the Saint on every day at the moment.
I heard, yes, I heard, yeah.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful that you're back in action, and we're going to be giving Renegades a big push for sure. What did you feel about the end result of Renegades? Were you happy with it? Did you feel there was a bit more that you could have put into it?
I think everybody acquitted themselves very well, and I think it's certainly stylish. It moves at a terrific pace,
It's lovely. It's really, really well done. I was really pleased with the way that London looks amazing. It absolutely.
He did some wonderful aerial shots with drones and things. Yeah. It does look good, doesn't it? Yeah.
I mean, it makes it on a par with the best side of New York, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So
yes.
Of course, towards the end, they're not spoilers, but we've got to go through it. Do you feel as though you might be signed up for Renegades 2?
If he makes a Renegades 2 and I'm not in it, I should be extremely upset.
Yeah.
But meantime, there's another movie on hovering in the background for Jonathan, which I can't talk about. But there's another one which is not Renegades related, but which might or might not happen quite soon, which will be lovely. And I hope to be coming over to the UK quite soon to do that.
Oh, well, we'd love to catch up with you anytime. We'd love to do a bigger interview and properly to camera and stuff like that. So that would be amazing.
Yeah. Without phones going off and things, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But it's just great, and we're so pleased that you do it. Is there anybody else you feel that you could recommend for the Renegades thing? Because it is, in my opinion, it's. I don't know if you've seen Gangs of London, but it's Gangs of London meets Expendables. It's it's a great movie as Renegades, in my opinion. And Gangs of London has done so well over here, and Expendables, as you well know, has done really well. So it's kind of a British flying the flag, that we've got Gangs of London, we've got Renegade, now we've got Expendables. Now you put the two together and you've got this fantastic Renegade scenario, which, we're up to Expendables 3. So, you might be making these for quite some time.
Absolutely. Well, the We Still movies were supposed to have a third one, but that didn't quite come off. But I mean, that was certainly, that series was designed to have a third film. It was We Still Kill the Old Way, We Still Steal the Old Way. And I said, well, as long as the last one is we still fuck the old way, I'm fine with all of that. Because we're all too old for that. We're all too old for that.
I thought it was we still die the old way.
That I think is what it would have been called. We Still Die the Old Way.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been around a while, and you've done lots of parts. When did you actually move? And what was your move to Hollywood? Why did you move to?
I'll tell you exactly why. I'll tell you exactly. In the 80s, I found myself being rather unemployed and out of work, really. And I was doing I was doing quite a lot of theatre tours and things like that, which is fine. But all of a sudden, out of the blue, there was a short period in the late 80s when American producers thought that TV audiences in the States would like to see more of the world. So they came to England in their droves and did TV pilots in England. And I did 3. One with Richard Harris, one with Beau Bridges, and I can't remember who the third one was. But I did 3, playing leading roles in all of them, and roles that, had the series been picked up, I would have been contracted to continue with the show. And I thought, well, the Americans seem much more interested in me than the Brits. So that's exactly why in 1989 I upped and sticks and came and started living in California. So that's the answer. Then after a bit, the American producers decided that actually what they thought the American audiences wanted to see wasn't actually so they went back home again. But for a short time, English actors had a wonderful time doing American pilots for their TV shows. That's why I came to America. Yeah.
I'm going to take you back a little bit now. I'm going to take you back a little bit now, just for us old guys that absolutely, think the world of you and were entertained with you years ago. Do you remember being in The Avengers with Linda Thorson?
Yes, I do.
And you had a wonderful time, a real good, still that great mop of hair, driving around and going over Tightwater Bridge near Haberdashers. Just on the outskirts. Do you remember that?
I don't remember. I worked a lot in those days, and one went from one job to another. And so what becomes of interest to people later on is something that's kind of lost in the mist of time a bit. I remember having my hair dyed blonde. And the moment the film finished, I went straight back and had it put back again to my old color. I didn't stay blonde for very long. And I remember Linda, and I remember Linda was very sweet. And Linda, of course, came and did a Saint as well. And I remember also that Patrick was very charming and lovely, and Patrick was one of those actors who was incredibly famous by then. And on my first day, he came up to me and he said, "Hello, how do you do? My name is Patrick McNee." Well, you can't get more delightful than that,
No.
Like I didn't fucking know that you were Patrick. And of course I knew you. But the whole idea was that there was no sort of I'm grand and I'm the star shit going on.
Yeah, because because between you, because while doing the Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, you worked with Pat on that, and you'd worked on the Avengers, so it's amazing. You really took.
He was also in an episode that I did of P.S. I Love You with Connie Seliger.
Oh,
yes, he was in that as well. So I worked with Patrick 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
Fantastic. So where are you going here? Are you just waiting for the calls to come with the more scripts now, or are you just living the high life? What are you doing now?
Well, I'm pretty bloody old, and I'm
no, you're not. Lying toad.
I'm kind of semi-retired, I mean, not voluntarily. I write books as well and plays and things. I also direct sometimes in the theatre. I work with students here sometimes, drama students. I keep myself reasonably busy, but the number of times people actually want me to act in a project is quite rare these days. So when it comes along, I usually jump at it.
Excellent. You did a couple of children's books, didn't you?
A whole series of them.
Yeah. Where did the inspiration come for those from?
I tell you exactly. I was visiting an English director in Kensington, and I was put into this room to wait for the interview. And in the room, he'd built a train set. And but instead of being on a tabletop, it was built on shelves all around the walls. So the train went all around the room, and it had tiny and extraordinary little details. If you look closely, all of a sudden I could see that there were little tiny miniatures, and it was a scene. They were filming a scene of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on a hillside. And then on another place, there was a path going around a mountain, and coming down the path was an old-fashioned nursemaid, an old nanny, all dressed in black, pushing a pram, and coming the other direction around the bend is a Bengal tiger. And this was the most wonderfully imaginative stuff this director had built, just for his own amusement. I wondered what would happen if a little boy got shrunk down and put into a train set like this. That was the first book. And that was so successful that I wrote 4 more. There were 5 in the series altogether.
Wow. I think
they sold all over the world. They sold in 30 countries all over the world.
Yeah. I picked up 2 of them. They were not easy to get, but I got 2 of them for sure. So.
Yeah, they're all out of print now. You have to go to Amazon now and eBay now, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, not the dreaded eBay. Oh, no. I do. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people that adores the Return of the Saints so much that I do have every version of the XJS that you could think about.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, including the large plastic model as well.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was iconic with the XJS. I mean, it was truly a British car, and it was great to see you driving it around in Speedo in Return of the Saints.
Well, that's why Bob Baker, the producer, wanted a British car, because Roger had always driven the Volvo, and partly because Volvo gave them such a good deal, and Volvo gave Roger personally a very good deal. But Bob wanted a British car, and I think it was a good choice to make that. Yeah.
Yeah. I had the great honour of actually changing the interior of the Corgi, because they got it wrong in the first run, and when they reissued it, I was permission to actually give them the right colour for the upholstery. Weird stuff that I've had to get on with. Right. Anyway, I think that's about it today, but we'd love to catch up with you when you get over to London sometime, so I hope we can pick up.
All right.
And congratulations, what a great film, and we'll be there supporting Renegades all the way. Thank you very much, Ian.
Thank you so much, and thanks a lot, mate. All right.